So, it's been a while since I last posted anything about the S10. I think the last time was probably when it was on the dyno, maybe last April, May-ish timeframe, maybe. But I've had some things that I've had in my mind that I really wanted to do with the truck. So, I have 3 specific people that I really have to thank, I guess, for the next iteration of this build. My friend John from MMI Concepts, because we're always exchanging information and stuff we find online. So I have some of that to thank him for. My friend Tim, who also has a Audi S4 with a VRT swap in it, which kind of inspired the next phase of this build. And of course my brother John, who has a Typhoon, and the inspiration for this truck sort of came from him having that Typhoon, and certainly now this next iteration of the build. To just fully disclose what's going on, I've been working on how I make this S10 all-wheel drive. In riding in some of the cars, trucks that have all-wheel drive specifically on the street with any sort of high horsepower, it's sort of unmatched. My truck does burnouts all over the place, and while it's fun and it certainly puts a smile on my face, when you're trying to go somewhere, it doesn't become fun. It just becomes kind of annoying. So that's sort of what has been brewing in my mind of how do I make this S10 all-wheel drive, still with the VR6, and what match of components basically works. So that's the next iteration, and I'm going to talk you through some of the things I've already purchased to start it, and then some of the plans, and I'm going to thoroughly document this step of the build. Initially I didn't document anything when I built the truck originally, but I'll take you through everything that I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. So we'll start there. And just for reference, this is where the truck currently sits. So at the end of, I guess, into this 2023, I had actually done a big valve head on it and converted that. And then prior to that, I think I had done the larger GTX 42 turbo, and everything else is pretty much the same. But it definitely drives, runs. It's an awesome truck to drive. Just looking for the next thing, and why not start with a custom frame and go 24 valve, make some more power, and all-wheel drive, I think. So the next phase of this S10 build that I've probably been working on for, it's been 2016, I think, is the first year it was done. But this is the next rendition with the all-wheel drive in mind. So 24 valve VR6 out of a Jetta. So nothing magical there. But the cool thing is, the mount looks a little different, I'm sure, but that's a Touareg, I guess, driver's side engine mount. And the cool thing about the 24 valve, regardless if it's 2.8 or 3.2, it has these bolt holes here, there, and up front. You can see that. But that's how the lower part of the mount is bolted to the block and supported. Both the 3.2 and the 2.8 have it, which is pretty sick. So you can use the Touareg mounts there. Both passenger and driver side actually are going to be Touareg mounts. Then there's the Porsche Cayenne 6-speed manual transmission that came in a lot of the base vehicles. And the bell housing and engine block are the same as the 3.2. So everything, and the 3.6. So everything from the transmission, which is all factory Porsche, Volkswagen, Audi, you can actually see it right there, is bolts right up to the block. There's nothing you have to modify or anything. It bolts right up. And then also it has the transfer case for the front drive shaft. This is bolted, so it's not fully integrated, but it's bolted on, so you can actually remove the transfer case and run it. Even as a regular, if you want to do rear-wheel drive swap, you could probably use this tranny. I'm doing the all-wheel drive. So, but again, it's all using factory VW, Porsche, Audi parts, which is going to be super sick. The only problem is there's not a lot of these trannies like for sale, so they are difficult to find. And if you had to buy a new one, it's extremely expensive. So that was where I really wrestled with, do I use VW, Porsche, Audi parts, or do I try and make another like adapter plate, run a different bell housing or a different, transmission. Ultimately, I think everything considered with clutch and clutch setup, because I'm going to have to do a twin disc for this, and then adaption and all that stuff, regardless, it was going to come out to the same ballpark price. So I just figured, what the heck, I'm just going to use the Porsche tranny to make it easier, at least for the adaptation. That's pretty straightforward. This is actually a Touareg water housing. So the Touareg one pops the one coolant pipe out the back end, and then there's a pipe that actually goes around the other side. I don't know if I'm going to use that yet, because I might do a rear mount radiator to keep the front of the engine a little bit cleaner, so I can also run a bigger intercooler, because I think that's a bottleneck on my truck right now, because it's pretty small. And then if we come around to the other side, this is the Touareg passenger side mount, and also the Touareg starter, and then these are the Touareg 3.2 exhaust manifolds, which are not going to really be able to see it, but the exits on the manifolds are significantly larger as compared to the 2.8 manifolds. So I'm just probably going to end up doing like an up pipe to the turbo for now, just to keep it simple and clean and cost effective, and then I can always build a manifold later. But yeah, so this is the other side of the tranny. You can see that there's the output shaft from the transfer case. This also has the controller for the four-wheel drive mode, which essentially just like moves and more engage the clutch pack to reduce down, put more output to this drive shaft, and change the proportion of just rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive. I'm not going to run that controller because there's no point in me actually using 4 low, because that's not what this truck's going to be built for. So it's essentially going to be in like 4 high the whole time. But yeah, that's the engine, transmission, adaptation, and like how I plan on actually running this in the truck. But the hard part is going to be building the frame, mounting it all in there, and get the subframes to work. And hopefully that doesn't take me entirely too long. But yeah, that's the engine, transmission. So, of course, there's a lot of stuff to figure out here. And starting with the engine trans, all that being factory VW, Porsche, Audi equipment, which really works out well. I ended up buying a Touareg donor vehicle. So the plan here so far, at least in my mind, this is how this is going to go, is I'm going to use the Touareg front subframe and rear subframe. So the front differential and then rear differential, I'll have to probably make a custom drive shaft because the S10 wheelbase is slightly longer than the Touareg. But I'm going to take all of the Touareg stuff, drivetrain wise, take it out of the Touareg. I'm going to build a custom frame for the S10 so that the Touareg stuff can bolt right into it like a factory setup. And then I'm going to put my cab and all my body panels from the S10 on top of that custom frame. And of course, I'll be taping this entire process. And I plan on making a jig for the frame, so that way, at some point, if anybody is equally as crazy as I am and decides to do something like this, if as I prove it all out, it should work, and we'll be able to make additional frames if somebody, again, is as bananas as I am to do a project like this. But so yeah, that's sort of the engine tranny and then drivetrain stuff is how this is all going to work together. I'm really excited to start sort of tearing into this. I'm going to be working with another friend of mine to design the frame in CAD, and then we can kind of manipulate a lot of different things without having to waste a lot of time and material, and position everything appropriately. And so yeah, that's going to be how this all sort of starts. And then I kind of have an ambitious goal, I suppose, for, if I can get this frame built and put together in like a year, then I think it'll be pretty sick to have this done for next spring, to be able to drive this thing and yeah, have a fully running driving truck again. So yeah, so we're going to go through this journey of an all-wheel drive S10 24 valve VR6 turbo with a Porsche Cayenne 6-speed manual transmission, all-wheel drive, using Touareg front and rear, subframes, differentials, axles, brakes, suspension, basically grafted into the S10 body, with a custom frame that I'll be building. So, and the train's going by, of course, which interesting. It's always great timing for the train. But yeah, so I'm gonna take, like I said, I'm gonna take video of this the entire way through. Try and do a very, very detailed process of sort of the design of the frame, build of the frame. I probably won't do too much about the build of the engine because, I mean, there's tons of videos on building VR6 motors and it's really not anything magical there. It's more or less how this stuff's going to get worked in here, how I'm going to actually build the frame jig and be able to recreate this thing time and time again. So yeah, it should be pretty rad. So I'm looking forward to doing it and being able to share it with everybody.